We're just getting it shared. If you're watching this on the replay, as always, give me a hashtag replay. I hope you're good and having a fucking great day. I'm going to get it shared here. Cool. Sorted. What's happening, Kerry? Hope you're good. We'll give it a couple of minutes. We'll let some people jump on. Hey, Jen. And then we'll get going. We've got free on Instagram. No one on Facebook yet, but we'll give it a few minutes. We'll let it populate. And then we shall get going with it. What's happening, Debs? Alana, hey gang, I hope you're all good. Thank you for jumping on. Appreciate it. Four are now on Instagram, none on Facebook. We'll give it another minute and then we will get going with this little gem that I've got for you guys today. As I said before, if you're watching this on the replay, give me a hashtag replay, please, so I know who watches it. Cool, we've got one on Facebook now. Right, shall we get going? Let's make sure we hit record. Make sure we're all good. And everything's golden before we start. Sweet. Right, cool. We're on it. Are we ready? 3, 2, 1. Yo, what's happening? I hope you're good. Welcome to the Type 1 Movement Podcast, the #1 podcast. If you're a Type 1 diabetic, or you love a Type 1, or you know a Type 1. Yeah, it's just Type 1's all over the place here. Yeah. So, firstly, thank you for tuning in. You know I appreciate you listening. I appreciate your ears. Yeah, what a thing to say. I appreciate your ears. You know, I do a lot of gratitude, and actually sometimes what I try and do, is whenever I write down 3 things I'm grateful for, one of them always has to be something to do with like my body. So it might be like ears, eyes, hands, legs, feet. You know, things that we just take for granted. Like how often do we sit there and we're like, I'm so grateful for my hands. Do you know what I mean? We don't, but we fucking should be. Because not everyone has got hands. And I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but it's true. We should be grateful for these things that we take for granted all the time, I think. So, anyway, now that's out of the way, this episode, this little tip could improve your timing target range massively. So before we get into it, team, please leave me a rating and review on the podcast app, as it really does help me reach more Type 1s and positively impact our community. Also, feel free to screenshot and share whatever device, platform you're listening to it on. Share it on Instagram stories and tag me at type1_Tom. Now, when we are looking to improve our control, we've got the big things that we can focus on. Yeah, this is basal testing, insulin to carb ratio, staying active, eating well. We all know that. Yeah, but I'm presuming that you've got all that. When I give you this tip, I'm presuming that you've done all that. All that's golden. Yes, it's never set in, forget it. There will always be times that we need to make adjustments to things. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is Type 1 at the end of the day. But these little things that we can then do to really improve our control, yeah? Now, this is my personal opinion, so, and I'll explain the logic behind and the reasoning behind why I choose to do this and why it's something that I say to my clients and that as well. And I think the majority of you will agree with my logic behind this tip, right? So like I say, this is my personal opinion, but I think it stands from a place of fucking logic. Yeah, but it's something that I think we can easily overlook for a few reasons. So here's the tip, guys. It's not going to be a major long one, this, but I think this is just to prompt your brain into actually thinking about this. And I'll give you the reason behind it shortly. So it's this: waiting until you're at the lower end of your range before eating. Yeah. Now, it seems like such a small thing to do, but sometimes if we've got those big things dialed in, you know, our basal rates, our insulin to carb ratio, we're eating well, we're staying hydrated, we're getting enough sleep, we've got those big things that we're keeping up to date with, we're keeping on track with, then it's a case of looking at the little things, and this is just one of them. There's plenty. I'm not going to go over all of them. I just wanted to give you this one. This is one of them. Wait until we're at the lower end of our range to eat. Yeah. Now, this may seem really, really small, but let me put it to you this way. So let's say I want to say this first of all, guys. It's normal to get a spike when you eat. Please let me preach that motherfucker again. It's normal to get a spike when you eat. If you're spiking high out of range, then yeah, something needs adjusting. Maybe your pre-bolus time, maybe your insulin to carb ratio's off. But it's normal for our graph to look a bit up and down. Yeah, as long as it's not super high or super low. It's normal when we eat. In a non-type 1 diabetic, yeah, if you could see, that's what would happen. They would get a very small spike. Obviously not like us. We've got more fucking leeway because we're controlling our pancreases. But they would get a small spike and then they come back down. That's natural to happen, yeah? But they're probably always sitting, let's say, around 4 or 5 miles or something like that. We aren't. Sometimes we might sit on the higher end. But if we can wait until we're at the lower range of our lower end of our range, yeah, I'll give you the reason behind this in a minute, that's going to improve the time in range. And this is my personal opinion. This is what I always do. Let's throw some numbers around, guys. So if I was at 8 moles or 144 milligram per deciliter, and I decided to eat, knowing that I was going to get a small spike, and I spiked up to 12, which is 216 milligram per deciliter. I had my insulin to carb ratio dialed in, and I come back down, let's say, to around like 7 or 8 moles again, yeah? So I've decided to eat when I'm at the higher end of my range, yeah? I'm 144 milligram per deciliter for those working in that. And I get a spike, and it spikes me up to 12, 216, yeah? Now, even though going up to 12 or 216 for a little bit, I don't think it's going to like cause long-term health complications and all that, do you know what I mean? Unless you're running there all the time, but we're not speaking about that sort of shit on this. But over time, that could add up, and it could throw your time in range out, especially if your time in range, like my top end's 10, yeah? It could throw your time in range out. And it's only a little thing, but over time, these things compound and add up. Whereas, check this, if I was to wait and I was to eat when I was at 5 moles or 90 milligram per deciliter, and I was to have the same spike, yeah, I was to have the same spike, so we're going from 8 to 12, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, of 4 moles. Sorry, I didn't work that out and what that is milligram per deciliter. So I'm eating now when I'm at 5 or at 90 milligram per deciliter. I had the same spike. I only went up to 9. My personal range is up to like 10, the top end. So we only went up to 9, which is 162 milligram per deciliter. I've stayed at my time in range. I've not gone over it. Yeah. And all I've done is I've just waited until I was at the lower end of my range. This compounded over days, over weeks. Yeah, there's times when you will go out of range, there's times at the end of the day, but just bear with me on this. This compounded over days, over weeks, over a few months, could really massively improve your time in target range. Yeah. So I know it sounds like such a small thing, but I know me personally, like I'm saying, when I aim in for that, it does improve my time in range. Yeah. Now, there's one main thing that this is going to take, and that's patience. And I understand that if you're fucking hungry, yeah. It's like when we pre-bowler sometimes and we're waiting, but we're fucking hungry, yeah. And I understand we get times like that, yeah. And sometimes you're going to think, fuck it, you're just going to eat. But sometimes if you're looking to improve that time in range, if we can just wait until we're at the lower end of our range, then that's going to have a big difference, right? Now, I wanted to give you guys some actionable stuff. I'm just going to give you 2 things that I personally do to help me get to the lower end of my range before I eat. Now, I know what a lot of thinking, and we'll address that soon about going low. So, for me, it could mean a longer pre-bolus. Could mean longer pre-bolus, keep an eye on my Dexcom or my Libra, yeah? And then when I start to see that lower end of the range, then I'll eat. It could mean if I'm at the higher end of my range, I decide to give myself a correction, or with that pre-bolus, yeah, I've added a correction on, and I wait. What doesn't seem logical to me, guys, is if we're say we was at 12 moles, 216 milligram per deciliter, and then we're going to go and eat, knowing that we could possibly spike even higher, even if we give a correction, and then we come back down into range. For me, I never do that. If I'm at the higher end of my range or I'm out of my range on the high end, I will always wait until I come back down into range before I eat. Yeah, this is something that, this is my logic behind it. I just don't understand why, if you was at the high end or out of range, all right, given you might be hungry and that, but why you'd want to spike even higher, feel a bit shitty, and then come down into range when we could just have a little bit of patience and just fucking wait until you come back down into range, yeah? So the two ways that I do that is sometimes a longer pre-bolus or giving a correction. I understand some people, sometimes ones are going to be scared about dropping low, but that's where experience and stuff like that comes into it. Sometimes I'll see I'm dropping low, I'll be able to catch it with the food I'm having, and then I've got that spike and I'll ride that out back up, yeah? But this is my personal opinion. Like I say, guys, I don't want you to say, like, Tom's told me to do this and that. I'm telling you what I find works for me and my logic behind this. My logic is thinking, why would I go and eat if I'm higher at the higher end of my range when I could give a correction? I could wait to come back down into range or the lower end of my range, and then I could eat, meaning I'm going to stay in my target range for longer. Yeah? Just a little bit of food for thought for you guys. Just a little bit of food for thought for you guys. There is plenty of other things, but this is just a little thing that could make a huge difference. A little thing that could make a huge difference. Yeah? So that is it. That's something that I do, one of the little things to help improve my time in range, yeah? I'll always wait if I'm on the high end or I'm high. I'll always give myself a correction. I'll wait so I'll come back down into range to eat. Or if I'm on the higher end of my range, again, might be a longer pre-bolus, might be a correction, and then I'm coming back down into range to eat, yeah? Because it's inevitable, and I want to stress this again, guys. You're going to get spikes in your glucose levels from food. It's going to happen, yeah? I don't want, and I say this all the time, I don't want anyone that listens to this chasing a fucking flat line. Flat lines are not achievable. And if you do ever achieve it, they're not sustainable. You need to, at my personal my personal range, I will share with you, is 3.9 to 10. Why? Because I understand I like to eat a lot of carbs and I'm going to get spikes throughout the day. But as long as they're not over 10, sometimes it will be, as long as they're not over my range, yeah, I'm happy. I'm golden. That's my personal thing. If you want to tighten your range up even tighter, that's your personal thing. That's up to you, yeah? But that's my personal sort of range. So, guys, just a little bit of food for thought there, really. Yeah, just to prompt your brain into thinking that and the reasoning and the logic behind it, yeah? So that is it. It was a short and sweet episode, this one, but hopefully me telling you what I do can hopefully prompt you into just thinking about that one little tip, yeah? And hopefully improving that time in range. Guys, that is it. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate you. Again, please leave me a rating and a review on the podcast app, as it really does help me reach more type 1 diabetics and positively impact our community. And also, give it a screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories, tag me at type1_Tom, because I love getting those messages in my inbox saying, hey, such and such has tagged you in something or shared something, so I can just reach out and say, hey, thank you. That is it. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, wherever you are in the world listening to this. And until the next episode, guys, peace. Instagram, Facebook, do we have any questions? As I said there, sharing this because it's something that I'm very mindful of. I'm so mindful of waiting until I'm in range or lower end of my range before I'm eating, because I know that the food's going to spike me. And it's little things like this, guys, that can make a massive difference. There is a few more, yeah? There is a few more, but it's just, this is probably one of the biggest ones, to be honest. Right, I'll go through, see if we've got any questions. Hey, I hope you're good. We got some emojis. Thanks, Kate. Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Simple route to follow. Use this regularly now. Thank you. No worries. Right, team. That is it. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah. Thank you for watching this. And until the next live, peace.